Welcome back to the program. If you're just joining us, this is the campaign edition of Choice 2017, where we're basically going to follow the campaign trails, wherever the politicians are going to lead us. And currently, as you're speaking, President Uhuru Kenyatta has left Kiambu. He has headed back to Nairobi, but Deputy President William Ruto is addressing a rally in Githunguri shortly, any moment from now. Our senior political reporter Rita Tinena is going to tell us more on that. And at the same time, in Vihiga County, an ANC gubernatorial candidate, Yusuf Chanzo, is launching his manifesto. And then our reporter Rashid Ronald is also following, of course, he is following that an ODM rally in Homa Bay County. All this and this special edition known as the campaign edition. Let me just introduce my guests once again. And Professor Macharia Mnene has just joined us in studio. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
On my right is Kevin Zowodi. He is a political analyst. And then we have a man from Ugenya here, who is eyeing the Ugenya parliamentary seat, Jari Momongi. Of course, we have Hassan Kochore, who is a graduate from Oxford. At the same time, he's also writing something about Nairobi politics. Many thanks, all of you, for joining us here. Professor, before you came in, we were talking about the manifesto that is going to be launched tomorrow by NASA. Jubilee are also going to launch theirs, probably maybe on Wednesday. So we were basically looking at these manifestos and we're thinking, will this manifesto, convince voters otherwise? Are they going to attract voters to either side? Or they're just piece of papers, as most of the pundits here have referred to?
Manifestos don't win elections. They are good talking points, promises of what one might do just in case they get in. And that's all, nothing else. The manifesto don't carry the day because it is the individual politician. It is the leader. People vote for individual leaders. They do not vote for parties. They do not vote for manifestos. They vote for the believability of a particular person in any area. So at the end of it, it's not so much the manifesto.
It's about the individual politics.
It is the individual and how that person appeals to the voter.
I think you've delivered your point home and dry. But at the same time, the two main contenders for the top seat, that is former Prime Minister Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta, together with his brigade, they had a very busy day yesterday. Uhuru was in Kakamega's Buhungu Stadium, where he addressed a huge number of shall we say Jubilee supporters, because we were told yesterday the political rallies do not necessarily reflect results of elections. But on the other hand, Raila Odinga was in Meru, where the reception there was something else. Let's just listen in to what Raila had to say yesterday in Meru.
Kila mara Ruto akirukaruka pale adio tutashinda adio nini jenasa wanaogopa sisi, hapana. Tukiongea juu ya tume ya uchaguzi na mambo ya ununuzi ya kura, yani kampuni ya kuchapisha kura, sisi tayari tuna ushahidi ya kutosha. Tuko na picha nyingine ya hiyo madirectors kule Dubai wakikaribisha Uhuru kwa karamu katika headquarters ya kampuni yao. Kwa hivyo Jubilee wasiseme wanakanusha ati hatujui hawa watu nini, hapana. Unajaribu kutufanya njama ya kuchapisha kura za ziada ya Jubilee kuiba kura. Tunakataa, sio?
Na tutaunganisha Wakenya wote kutoka kila mahali, kutoka Mombasa mpaka Turkana, kutoka Lamu mpaka Malaba. Kila Mkenya atakuwa na haki na uwezo ya kujivunia kuwa Mkenya badala ya kuvumilia kuwa Mkenya.
Of course, there is a debate that has been raging on for the better part of this week and last week. NASA is saying that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission have been compromised there in regards to the printing of ballot papers. Now, Hassan, do you think this is something worth talking about? at this time? We're just a few days to the general elections.
I mean, it's one of the most important things to have a free, credible, fair election.
Yeah.
Then you have to have a body that is competent enough to deliver the same. And not just that, you know, perception management is a very crucial component. The IEBC has not inspiring much confidence lately because it's sacking, you know, some of its directors. I mean, two actually in a span of about 2 months, and that tells you something that, you know, the commission is not in good shape. When you compound that, you know, with issues of procurement, I mean, election technology is one of the things that was highly contested in the 2013 elections, where we bought very expensive sort of election, you know, technology, and then it failed spectacularly on the day it was supposed to deliver. So one of the things that we need to watch is the election technology. I mean, the international community has been, you know, quite vocal. The embassies and all the, you know, the stakeholders have been saying that, you know, we need the technology to deliver this time. And when you have, you know, shoddy procurement procedures that has been overruled by the court, you know, every now and then I mean, that just sort of erodes, you know, the confidence of the public.
So it's something that is worth talking about. Yeah. So, Prof, I'd like to hear your comment on this. You know, NASA is accusing Jubilee of having established contacts with the company in question here, that is the Al Ghurair printing company that is based in the UAE. On the other hand, Jubilee, through the majority leader in the National Assembly, had accused NASA of having established contact with another company in South Africa. Do you think this is part of the smear campaigns, propaganda that is going on, or there are facts in it?
It's a big smear campaign. And give credit to the NASA people. They are very good propagandists. And they get a lot of mileage. That is not to say it's true or not true either way. Yeah. The South African company is known. You know, it's not a secret. And its linkages, these are known.
But they've come out clearly distancing themselves from the NASA leader.
They always do that. See, I think what has been going on, and we, as a country, we tend to hide from the reality. This electoral commission that is there is not being given a chance to work. That's a reality. I remember from the day when they were being sworn in, already aspersions were being cast on it. And remember that this commission is supposed to have been the one approved by the stakeholders after improperly kicking out the other one that was accused of strange things. The trend that has emerged is to create a sense of no credibility on the institutions of state that are supposed to run affairs, such that they are always defending themselves instead of being busy putting the structures in place. That has been going on. The effect of this, although we have this word independent, it ends up not being independent because it's always on the rear. So some of these attacks have been deliberately aimed at removing the independence of the independent body.
So currently, it's like you're insinuating that IEBC is not independent as you're speaking.
Well, the attacks on even the previous one was made to appear not to be able to do its job properly. That does not mean that there were some of those allegations may not have had some elements of truth. If you remember right, the previous IEBC, when it was created, okay, and the same people who attacked it were saying it is wonderful because they approved each one of those people, okay, including the chief executive, Oswago, okay, fully approved by the same people. Now, when the results did not come out the way some people wanted, they said, now it is not a good one. Okay? And then you could say, wait a minute, what happened? We were guaranteed by the same people. Now, so they were kicked out, in my view, improperly, but they were kicked out anyway.
Yes.
And maybe that's why they were given a good package, because it was improper anyway, for them to leave.
Anyway, let's
now this one, so you went through the ritual of looking for people who are supposedly acceptable. And if you look at them, they look very acceptable to the critics, but on the day they were being sworn in, aspersions were being cast on them, that whatever they do will not be accepted unless it goes in a particular way. That was done. So in the process, the IEBC, it doesn't matter who it is, whoever gets there will get some dirt thrown on them. Whether there is validity on the dirt or not is another matter, but it will be there. Now, does it mean that the IEBC cannot deliver a credible,
That's
fair
the main question
election?
people wondering, yeah.
They can. The time is kind of short, there's no question about it, for preparations, but it can be done. If there is a question of ballot printing, I mean, there are many organs that can print the ballot and do it properly. Okay? Now, if those are the issues, and you can see there's something funny about it. So the claims coming from either side, they have something to look at.
Anyway, before I get to your views on this, actually, we're not supposed to lose our focus because this show is about the campaigns. And of course, let's just get a call here from Kapsabet, I believe. A very good afternoon. What's your name? And perhaps what's your question?
Yeah, this is Kemboy from Kapsabet.
Yes, Kemboy.
Yes, I have an observation to make about, first of all, the manifesto, and then secondly, the ballot papers.
Go on, please.
Yes, about the manifestos, I believe the manifestos will go hand in hand with the believability of the individual who is going to implement that manifesto, according to me. You know, all parties can have very good manifestos, but the question Kenyans should ask themselves is, whom do you believe to implement their manifesto actually? So that is going to determine the importance of the manifesto launched by politicians to the citizens, the believability of the individual who is going to implement the manifesto. Now, coming to the issue of the printing of the ballot paper, I think it is a very major concern. I hear the professor saying that that could be a propaganda. But there is something that when people sit down in a social place and discuss about issues about how really to use extra ballot papers to rig an election. And somebody described to us yesterday a very big scenario that kept us worried. For example, they say, number one, create an extra stream of a polling station that is non-existent.
Yeah.
You know, so if we have 4 polling streams, create a 5th one that is non-existent. Number two, ensure that that extra stream is filled up by the names of the dead voters in the voters register. So that number 3, print more ballot papers, tap them into the ballot boxes to represent that extra stream, and that situation cannot be contested in a court of law because we will come down and say, let us recount the ballot papers of that polling station. We will look at the number of streams, we will look at the names. Part of the names will be the names of the dead voters in the register, and then we will find the accurate number of voters based on the accurate number of streams that are in that polling station.
Yes,
and
I think
it cannot be challenged. It looks valid.
Thank you. I think you've delivered. I think you've delivered your point. Let's just give room to our next caller.
We may be working hand in hand with the scenario of a whole choreographed situation of rigging the election.
Thank you very much. That is a caller who has been casting aspersions on the manifestos itself. Let's take another caller from Kitale, I believe. And what's your question, perhaps?
My question is this, sir. Is it correct to brand somebody guilty before it is proven so? What is going on with all the allegations on what Raila said and indeed what other politicians say? I think that it is proper to carry out the investigations before we start laying blames and counter accusations from all political divide. What bothers me so much is that we have election right at the corner, and people are campaigning. Now, once anything has been said at campaign time, we have the investigative body. We should carry out these investigations, and if anything is proven,
yes,
then people can come out and blame one another.
Okay. Many thanks, John, for your comment there. Let's get another caller here. That is Cyrus from Nairobi. Cyrus, what's your question?
Yes, my question is, why is it that when NASA makes any allegations, Jubilee gives in instead of IEBC defending itself clearly? That's my question.
Thank you, Silas. I think that is a valid point. Actually, let's just start with the last caller. That is Silas from Nairobi, saying that whenever issues are raised against the electoral body, it's not their communication people who come out to talk or speak. It's people from the Jubilee. Does it mean they have some kind of relations? Or anyway, what's your observation there? What's your comment there?
That tells us, puts us what Prof was saying, that are they independent? That's the best question. That is IEBC independent, as the name suggests? To me, no. Two, maybe Jubilee love, protecting them, but not knowing that they are doing more harm than good to the body itself. Two, in developed nations, such allegations when made, what happens indeed that the investigative organs come out, gun blazing to look at each and every issue that has been raised. But what do we have in the country? Something is raised. It's upon then the IEBC to come out and say or prove to Kenya that this is not true, because politics is about perception. And when the perception has been brought out into the picture that things are not right at the IEBC, and as my bro was saying, there's a lot of things that have happened, including sacking of some of the top officials in this. So indeed need to look at into.
It's the same perception theory that made the previous commissioners to go home, you remember. So Hassan, let me just get this from you. Do you think it's the failure from the part of the communication organ of the electoral body, that whenever issues are raised against the electoral body, it's the Jubilee party that reacts?
I think it's not any sort of failure or lethargy on the part of the IEBC, to be fair. I think Jubilee is just too fast at responding. Because if an allegation is made this morning, before the end of the day, Jubilee would have responded. And you see, basically...
That means they are very effective politicians, perhaps.
Of course, yeah. The communication team is known. They communicate, quite effectively, and they get the information, probably even faster than the IEBC itself. And I mean, they are quick to react as well, obviously because...
But what does that say about IEBC? Because most of the time they've remained silent. It's Jubilee which comes out first. I think
it says more about Jubilee than IEBC itself. Because why are they so protective of the IEBC? If allegations are made, why don't the relevant authorities actually look into the claims and investigate? Why is Jubilee so fast in defending IEBC? So basically the image they are creating is actually that they are more friendly to the IEBC than Codis, and I mean, they might generally be trying to protect an independent body, as it were, but the image that is coming out is that they are actually maybe trying to influence the IEBC itself. So it's a very tight, basically treading a very tight path.
Hassan has clearly indicated that maybe, perhaps, IEBC is friendly to Jubilee, or they have some kind of symbiotic relationship. So what do you have to say about that?
See, when the court made a decision that tallying should be done at the constituency, and that would be final. I think it was an unfortunate decision, but that's okay. The IEBC appealed. The IEBC appealed. When it appealed, some politicians warned the IEBC that it should not appeal. Now, the proper process, if you feel unhappy, you appeal, which is what the IEBC did. And then you get politicians warning the court, warning the IEBC, and saying that whatever they do, they will not agree. That's an assault on the independence of institutions. If we have agreed that you go into a football game without knowing the outcome. You have a referee that you have agreed is a referee.
Both sides have agreed.
Yes. Don't forget that this IBC was put there in very strange ways by some very interesting people. Okay? And so just before the game starts, you start saying, we will not agree to what the referee says. You say, wait a minute. You create impression that there's something wrong. Eh? You are not giving the game a chance. You have already predetermined the way you want it to come.
The result.
And that is...
in this situation here, we have a referee that people think is not following the rule of the game.
First of all, it is very clear in the public domain that Jubilee and IEBC have formed a tag team. It is very unfortunate that whenever ODM complains about something that IEBC is not doing correctly, the first defender is Jubilee. And I don't think it is defense anymore. What Jubilee is trying to do is trying to give IEBC the direction. This is our public position on this matter. Now deal with it. Even this matter of the courts, we know in science, in finance and everything else, that the books of original entry are superior to any other book. So when we do the voting, just like when you buy something from a shop, the receipt is the book of original entry. No other book above can dispute it. If the books above are disputed, you go back to the receipts. If anything will be disputed in these elections up here, you go back, what were the results at the polling station? This is what is supposed to have remained. In fact, it is anybody disputing these figures who is supposed to go to court. But somebody cannot go to court that we don't want to use the figures you got at the station. We want to create some ahead and be using them. That is unfortunate. In fact, you cannot say that CORD or NASA, whoever went to court, was wrong in this matter. They were right to demand that IEBC don't play mischief with things that are correct in the public domain. Going back to the printing of papers.
Yes.
Where we are today, printing of ballot papers is a security issue. Now that it has become a public debate, that we now know where it is being printed, who is printing it, when they are printing it, and who is involved, I think it is now.
I thought if they don't do that, people will be raising an accusing finger towards IEBC saying that they're not transparent.
In the past, we have had ballot papers printed. We see them in the polling stations. But this thing has been a subject of a serious debate, that it is now natural that it is cancelled and a new one brought in. But to argue that ODM also knows some printing firm in South Africa is very unfortunate. Because even me, I know many printing firms all over the world. So it's good to know. But they didn't say, cancel this one in Dubai and give it to the one in South Africa. They didn't say so.
Exactly. For now, let's put that debate surrounding IEBC to rest for now, because this is all about campaigns today. And President Uhuru is already in Kiambu. Actually, has left. He is in Nairobi now, but the Deputy President is in Kiambu currently. Prof, we all know very well the numbers of votes in Kiambu. They're way above 1 million votes. So what does this kind of political rally signal?
Well, we are witnessing very interesting campaigns yesterday and today. It does appear that the two main camps, because there are more than two, but the two main ones are exchanging notes. So at one time they are supposedly in the other side's stronghold, and then they go home. So yesterday, if you noticed, the NASA people were supposedly in Meru, and they were competing to be seen to have a big crowd.
Actually, they had a big crowd.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They are competing to be seen to have a what?
Yes.
A big crowd. The Uhuru team was in Kakamega.
Yeah, they were in Kakamega.
And they also appear to have a what? So it's a campaign to show crowds in the other side. And once you think you have rallied or gained something from the other, you go and rally home troops. And so what do we have today? We have the NASA people, the ODM team is in Homa Bay, rallying what? The home base. And the Jubilee are in Kiambu, doing what? So it looks as if there's a pattern they are following. And so far, both sides are exciting people. Whether that translates to votes is another matter. But they are pulling crowds.
Yes.
And I mean, part of the reason they are pulling crowds is because it's the personality, the top guys. So you have Uhuru show up. People will show up because they want to see this guy. Okay? Where Raila shows up somewhere, people will show up because they want to see him. Whether that translates to votes is another matter. So it's a good excitement and entertainment for the president.
Prof has referred to it as entertainment. Of course, I'm eager, to know what you have to comment about it. Clearly, it seems, both NASA and Jubilee don't have just almost similar kind of approach when it comes to their manifesto. It seems they're also copying each other in terms of the campaign strategy. Well, these are just some of the debates that we are having right here on the campaign edition of Choice 2017. And today, President Uhuru Kenyatta was in Kiambu County, where he's trying to solidify support for the Jubilee coalition in that particular area. But he is back in Nairobi. Currently, Deputy President William Ruto is expected to address some of the Jubilee supporters there. Our senior political reporter, Rita Tinina, is keeping a keen eye on that. And in Homa Bay, there's some rally there by some officials from NASA. And remember, we're having a press briefing shortly from some of the NASA's top leadership. All this right here on KTN. Of course, this is your 2017 election headquarters. Don't go too far. We'll be right back.